62 years ago today, more than 250,000 people took part in the 1963 March on Washington. It is where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his exalted I Have a Dream speech. On this anniversary, Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network, joined by Martin Luther King III and Andrea King, will lead the March on Wall Street in New York today with the coalition of civil rights, clergy, and labor leaders in response to the Trump administration's campaign to roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And Martin and Andrea join us now. Martin is chairman of the board of the Drum Major Institute, and Andrea is president of the organization. The Drum Major Institute is a nonprofit community action group founded by Dr. King, and today it carries on his legacy by convening leaders and organizations to identify common sense solutions to the world's most pressing problems. It is really good to have you both on the show.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having us.
And so, Rev, this is something that NAN's doing. Tell us about it.
Well, 25 years ago, in the year 2000, Martin III and I had done some things in St. Louis and other things. And we decided to start doing a State of the Dream gathering every year. And his mother, Coretta Scott King, came, we asked her to keynote it, and she said, no, I'm going to introduce Martin and you. This is after she straightened me out about, Al, you got to start not using these slang language. You got to keep in the King tradition, and only Coretta Scott King.
Now, did she get you out of the sweatpants and into the suits also?
Well, she helped encourage me.
Okay, it was a transition.
And Martin was the one that kind of got me and his mom together, and she actually would come to National Action Network's conventions over a period of time.
Yeah.
So every few years, Martin and I had said we would reconvene to see the State of the Dream. When Andrea and Martin married, and she became our Coretta, because she's the one that gets us. I know when he tells me we've got to have a Zoom call with Andrea, I brace myself because there's something we might have did that was a little over the edge.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for the last several years. The State of the Dream today is economic equality and gun violence, as we saw in Minneapolis yesterday. So we want to go to Wall Street rather than Washington to say that when you kill DEI, when you deal with economic inequities, you are the ones that are benefiting from it. We need you to reinvest in the dream of America that Dr. King dealt with on this day 62 years ago. Labor leaders will be there, many of our officials. Buses already coming in as far as Louisville, I just got a text. And that's where the State of the Dream will be commemorated. Starting 10 o'clock at Foley Square, and at noon we'll be in front of the Bull having the rally, and Martin and Andrea and I and others will address the crowd.
Fantastic. So I wonder how receptive the audience will be on Wall Street. It seems that a lot of people are running for cover. Suddenly, being for very American concepts, diversity, e pluribus unum, out of many one, inclusion, equity, all men are created equal. Suddenly, these basic American concepts are under attack, and where are the defenders on Wall Street?
Quiet. And I think the defenders are quiet. In other words, those who are in the institutions. There probably is some leadership that is waiting to reemerge. And in fact, we have to create that climate. It's not going to happen on its own. Freedom, my mom used to say, is not ever permanently won. Every generation must work to reacquire its freedom. And unfortunately, that's where we are. I'm wondering, I'm always thinking, people always ask me, well, what would your father think? Dad would understand that the work is never complete, and it really just takes a few good human beings to bring about change. This is probably one of the worst times in my life that I've seen. Maybe not the worst time ever in history, but certainly one of the worst times. And good people must come together to create a different trajectory. This is a phase we're going through. Energy has to change. The energy is going in the wrong direction in terms of creating unity. We're not going, I mean, at some point, Dad would say, we must learn nonviolence or we will face non-existence.
One of the things that I tell our daughter all the time is that real queens, and today I will say real freedom fighters, don't look away at other things that people do look away. We look into the face of injustice and we don't look away. We face it with justice and with love. And so that's what we're doing today. That's why we're coming together today. And that's why I would hope that Wall Street wants to hear what we have to say. But we're coming together. We're standing strong with courage and love for all of America.
So as you assess what the state of the dream is today, what are you hoping Wall Street's reaction will be?
The hope is that, you know, we're really at a point where oppression is being legislated. For many years, I monitored the Ku Klux Klan, neo-Nazi skinheads under Reverend C.T. Vivian and others. And one of the things that we used to always say is that they don't all wear sheets. And right now, we're at a point, the things that we were monitoring in the 90s, I'm actually seeing being shouted from pulpits and from the Oval Office. And so what we're hoping is to call us to our higher angels, to our higher selves, to remind us that the ideals that are embedded in this country, liberty and justice for all. This is about standing for all of us. And that's what we're hoping the conversation will be when we leave Wall Street today.
So, Martin, what is the specific concern with Wall Street itself? I know you've been holding marches and events in other sectors as well, but what is it about Wall Street you think it's important to convey this message?
Well, I think that when you look at income inequality, when you look at how much, I mean, it's like a runaway train for just those few, as opposed to figuring out, if we want America to be better, we have to create opportunities to start at the bottom and rise up. That's just not happening. It's going one direction. We need to figure out how do we keep it coming both directions. Everybody's not going to be a millionaire, but in the United States of America, everyone ought to be able to have a decent home, which could be as large as this table. Everyone ought to have health care. Everyone ought to have the best education, and everyone ought to have justice. That's not existing yet.
And let us not forget that Dr. King's very last campaign was the Poor People's Campaign.
Right.
It was about bringing together poor blacks, whites, Latinos, Native Americans. And one of the first initiatives at Coretta Scott King after Dr. King's assassination, she took on income equality and minimum wage. So this is a continuation of both Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr.
Well,
and now it's all our time.
Thank you all for being here. And Rev, give us the details one more time for people watching.
We meet at 10 a.m. at Foley Square near the African Burial Ground and march the mile to the Bull. And I think it's important when you look at the lead editorial, Joe and Mika, of New York Times today, voting rights, Section 2 is at risk. The entire work of Dr. King is at risk. We need a mass people to come out today to show that we want to keep this dream alive, and not as a memory, but as our challenge in our generation.
Right. Star. Martin Luther King III and Andrea King, thank you both very much.
Thank you all.
As always,
Thank
for
you.
coming in this morning. Good to see you. And still ahead, a conversation on what you eat and how it impacts your mood. Our next guest is a doctor who will tell us about the correlation between fast food, aggression, and bullying. Morning Joe will be right back.